Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Kevin Creatives. Check out my custom Gundam Unicorn Master Grade OVA version. And this one is sick as hell, so I hope you got your Pepto. Let's get on to it. So a little backstory here. When I first was getting into seriously building Gunpla and all that, my sister had actually, as a gift, got me the Master Grade Full Armor Unicorn Verka. I knew that I wanted to do that one right. That was a big deal one for me. I was a big fan of it, and I wanted to make sure that I had done such an amazing job of it. And I knew that I wasn't at the right level to do it yet, so I just have it in my backlog, ready to go one day, and I can't wait. This is one step closer to doing that because this was kind of my test. I wanted to see how well I can do on this version. Now that I see that I'm very happy with the results, I can one day do the full armor when I have the time, because that's a big deal kit. There's a lot going on. So to start things off, the big obvious draw to this kit is the Psycho Frame. This is a very cool transformable kit that has all of this really nice exposed Psycho Frame ready to go. I will say I don't think I did the best job on it, but I'm still pretty happy with it. I do think that there are certain things that I need to try out and test first to see where I can go from here in terms of making the Psycho Frame look good on another unicorn, because I do have another one of these in my backlog. I don't like transforming my kits, so this is my destroy mode Gundam unicorn, and one day when I'm in the mood, I'm going to do another unicorn just in the standard unicorn mode, because I think that looks cool as well. So to get into this Psycho Frame, I started by painting the Psycho Frame white. I went over it with a primer white just to make sure everything was kind of bright when I painted it. Then I went over it with fluorescent red. This came out great at first. The only issue was I added some white to the mix to lighten things up. I wanted to give it that glow. Once things dried out, I don't know what happened, but it kind of has this sherbet vibe to it. So looking at it in person, it definitely still has that sherbety vibe, but in the video it comes across well. I don't know what it is, but some lighting it looks great, some lighting it looks not so great. So one big thing about this kit is there's not a lot of color going on. You basically just have the Psycho Frame, the inner frame, the blue parts, and the white parts, and then the yellow part for the inner part of the V-fin. And that's kind of it. You really have to just think about what extra details you can add in to spice things up. So with the Psycho Frame, I wanted to make sure that the fluorescents were there just to have something special on that. The inner frame, I did everything in the metallics. That pops out. Same thing with the blue. I decided to do everything in metallics just to give it a little bit of a shine. And then the white, I just kind of just did my standard white, but hey, it looks great. So for the blue parts, I didn't really want to candy coat it this time. I want to try things a little bit different. So what I did is I got a very bright silver and just mixed it with clear blue. I just got a ton of just poured it in. I just had to keep going because it was not getting blue enough. I just poured in a ton of clear blue until I can get it to this level, and I think it came out pretty well. It's not quite as dark as what I wanted it to be. I think I should have added in a red just to give it a little bit of a purpley vibe. I think that's where I missed a beat a little bit. So I will say for the destroy mode, I think the lighter blue versus the darker blue actually does look a little bit better. So when I eventually do a standard unicorn mode build, I'm going to take that into consideration and probably add in a little bit of clear red just to kind of purpleize it. And once again, I love these little round bits on the sides of the knees. I went ahead and painted the insides of those silver. You know I love to do that. Same thing with the front of the, I guess, knee inner frame part, the thigh knee. I went over the inner part of that silver just to break things up a bit. And then unfortunately on the back of the knees, I did mask everything off and paint those in enamels, which unfortunately, yeah, enamels you gotta be careful with. You can't touch them. I did my best not to touch anything. My thumbs rubbed up on some stuff, and it did smush up the paint on the back of the knees. As beautiful as those pipes came out, what are you gonna do? That's how you learn. So from now on, anything that needs to be touched has to be lacquer, or at the very least, acrylic, because if it's oil-based, the oils from my skin are gonna interact with the oils from the paint, and we have this issue here where things rub off, and I'm not crazy about it, so you have to be very careful with this kit. The water slide decals I think came out really nice on this kit as well. I was afraid of overpowering the kit with water slide decals. I've seen that done a lot, where some people's first instinct with the unicorn is just to slap on a ton of water slide decals just to compensate for the lack of different colors, because it's pretty much just white, and I didn't want to do that. I knew that was going to be too much, so I just picked out some spots: shoulders, chest, waist skirts, knees, ankle armor, the shield, the weapons kind of scattered about. Picked some spots here and there just to have a couple decals decal. It spices things up around the kit, but I don't feel like my eyes are overloading with all this stuff going on. Now, I have heard some rumors about the transformation on this kit not being so great. I did not have any issues. It was fine. I transformed it. I mean, I did scrape a little bit of paint off on one or two spots, but for the most part, everything's fine, and I don't know. There's no issues for me. It's holding up fine. So I decided not to paint the backside of the shield on this one because, once again, you never really see the back of the shield, so I only save that for certain times, and I didn't really want to spend the extra effort in masking all this. I was masking it, and then I was like, you know what? Forget it. We're just going to move on because I just didn't really feel like the need to spend the extra time on that. Now, unfortunately, with the silver enamel I did on the blue metallic parts, I think because the metallic parts were so smooth and so glossy, when I painted the silver accents on top of them, they didn't adhere. They just couldn't. They were just too slippery. There was no grip. So when I was handling the foot parts and even some of the ammo packs, it just wiped right off like water. The silver paint wiped right off. I said screw it, and I just took my thumb and wiped the paint off the back of the feet. It's already damaged. Why have one without the other? And whatever. You learn. That's just how you learn. One thing I would have liked to do a little differently is maybe have added some panel lining to the cycle frame. There isn't a lot of panel lining opportunities on this kit. Just because the armor is designed to split up into a bunch of sections as it is, they're already natural panel lines where you wouldn't need to add any additional ones. So I decided to omit the bazooka. I did put some paint into it and give it the gunmetal vibe and all that. And then I wanted to add a bunch of extra detailings, but then I decided, you know what? I don't feel like posing with the bazooka. I'll save that for when I do the unicorn mode version, and one day we'll get to it. I have to say, the eyes came out pretty immaculate. I love looking at them. I decided to go with just a straight metallic green over them, and yeah, that pops out really nice with the pinkish cycle frame and the white and the yellow and everything. Because it's just a very small amount of just very bright metallic green, I think it looks really nice. So in terms of the build, I really don't have any complaints. I was kind of nervous just because there's a lot of opening parts and there's the inner frame plus the cycle frame. I wasn't sure how things were going to hold up. And once everything was painted, nothing is really falling out of place. No parts are falling off. The pose is holding. Nothing's wrong with anything. So I'm very happy about that. The shield looks great. The beam magnum looks great. The only little issue with the armor bits is you got to be careful when you're handling things because you might accidentally close things up and then you got to reopen them. So basically, you just want to pose this thing, which I don't think I have any crazy poses with this guy, but get him up there, open up the armor bits, and then just leave him be. So this is one of the kits that I would really recommend as like a practice kit. There's just so much opportunity to use different skills all over this kit that you'll need throughout your building process. You have all these different types of paints and colors going on. We've got all the white for the outer armor, which is great for practicing on shading. Then we have the cycle frame, which you can use your fluorescence on, practicing how to make things glow. Then we have the inner frame plus all the blue parts, which is practicing for metallics, as well as mixing that blue color metallic into the silver. That's something you're gonna have to learn, how to make metallic colors. Sometimes you need to make something that's not quite available. Then we have the water slide decals, which you're always gonna want to have some of those everywhere, so why not do it on this kit? Like I said, just use a few of them. Just use the logos. That's something that you can do there. You can mask off some of the parts just to add in some additional details as well. So like I said, there's tons of opportunity for this kit just to learn, and that's a big reason why I love doing this one. I wanted to practice some stuff, and I got a ton of great practice in. So my only real issue with this kit is the proportions seem kind of weird on this one. So the legs are like big giant tree trunks, but then the arms are kind of thin and spindly. I didn't really care for that. I didn't notice it when I had everything separated, but once I put it together, I realized that the legs feel like they're for one kit, and then especially the biceps feel like a completely different kit just based on the sizes. It's crazy how thin they look in comparison. Same thing with the chest. The chest seems kind of wide and big, but then again, compared to those arms that are much thinner. So I'm guessing when they made the extreme version of this Unicorn Gundam, they probably took stuff like that into consideration in terms of the proportions and the transformation to help adjust for that. I think the reason is because the transformation is a big deal for this design. They had to make sure they did that, and they had to compromise in certain aspects to make sure that happened. One thing I really loved about this kit was the fact that it didn't take me all that long to build. Normally kits like this, especially a master grade, would take me probably 3 to 4 months, but this one only took about 2 months, so it's nice to be able to just quickly bust something out and then move on, because while I do love doing the kits, I have so many that I kind of want to just keep moving as much as I can. So it was a nice little surprise that I found myself being able to just paint everything all at once and get it out of the way. I think the fact that this only had 4 major colors, white, inner frame, cycle frame, blue, that just kind of knocked things out pretty quickly. I was able to prime everything up pretty quick and then go over everything with their base coats and then do a little highlighting here and there. And that was pretty much it. I didn't even really need to top coat anything because the white was already pretty flat and then the metallics were already pretty shiny and glossy. So we were good there. This was a real nice quickie for me. It's going to be really interesting to see where Bandai goes with the Unicorn Gundam in the future, just because they've done basically everything you can with this kit. High grade, real grade, master grade, perfect grade. We've got multiples of each, tons of different variations. I mean, what else is there to do? So I am just very curious to know when they're going to do another Unicorn, what could be done? Like, what else is there? I have to know. They've even got a mega size. I mean, what else is there? With the popularity of the Gundam Unicorn design, I find it very hard to believe that we've seen the last of it. I'm sure Bandai is going to figure out some way to do it all over again in a whole new way that's going to blow everyone's mind. So I'm really looking forward to that day. I've got plenty more of this guy in my backlog, so I don't really need it this second. I definitely did not pick up the Master Grade Extreme version of this because A, the price, and B, like I said, I've got tons of this guy. So look forward to more Unicorn in the future, and I'll have to get creative in my own way and figure out how to differentiate it as well. I mean, Bandai's not the only one that has to make things interesting. I got to figure out something myself. So before I go, I will just say I've heard a lot of rumors about this kit just because there's so many different versions of the Unicorn and which one should you get and do you like this one or that one or this one's the best. Honestly, I think this is probably the best priced in terms of a nice scaled Unicorn Gundam that transforms and all that. It's a great price, lots of opportunity to practice, and once you paint it, the stability's fine. I don't know, I've heard that there's a lot of issues with this kit falling apart and stuff. I don't know where they're coming from. I've had 0 issues with this kit and I've had it for plenty of time. But anyways guys, I hope you liked going over this kit with me. It was a great time. I loved painting it up. I can't wait to do it again in the standard Unicorn mode plus the full armor. One day we'll get there, and until then, we'll see ya.